What's up, everybody? I just tuned over to sit there and retweet, and then of course lost the introduction. Hey, Ellis, how are you?
Hi, Bree. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, thanks for coming. This isn't a very exciting day in the office for us. I'm sure this is exciting for you. Keeneland is kicking off tomorrow, opening day. Finally, I feel like it has felt like decades only because obviously last year was just super weird with Keeneland in July, which was fantastic. But I'm happy to have our spring meet back on the scheduled date for April and have the April Keeneland meet kicking off tomorrow. Are you pumped?
Oh, yeah, I'm pumped. I'm just pumped about everything this week. We're back to a normal schedule. 3 of the last 4 big races on the road of the Derby with the Wood Memorial and Aqueduct, the Santa Anita Derby as well, and then the Bluegrass part of a great card at Keeneland, of course, my home track. But awesome, just pumped and can't wait for first post on Friday, and then, of course, the big day on Saturday.
Absolutely. Well, that's why we brought you in. I feel that you are the Keeneland man. You are the expert at Keeneland, and I am excited that I think you're going to teach me something. But also, we're here to talk to anybody that is new to betting in general, new to the Stable Duel app. If you are a seasoned handicapper and you've been playing Stable Duel, we might have some picks for you. So stay on and listen. And then if you see the scroller down below, if you have not made a bet, this is the season to do it. So download the Keeneland Select app. It is free to download. And then when you create your account, you put in SD 2021, they will match a $10 bet. So it's virtually a free $10 bet. And we are going to give you some selections to make one of those bets, whether it's an exacta, it's a win play show, it's just a win if you're feeling spicy, whatever you want to do. I think you've got some trifectas in here as well. Is that right?
One trifecta. Try and take a small investment, turning into a decent amount.
I love it. So down below, download the Keeneland Select app, put that in your offer code when you create an account, and we'll probably talk about that a couple different times. But we are just going to go over 4 races, obviously jam-packed with stakes races on Saturday. So we're going to go through the Commonwealth briefly, Shakertown, the Grade 1 Ashland, and then, of course, the Bluegrass Stakes. I'm excited. So why don't we start with the Commonwealth? So this is race 7 at Keeneland, 7 furlongs on the dirt. There are some popular named horses in here, and we're going to talk about one of them right off the bat. So go ahead, Ellis. Who are you looking at?
Well, Hidden Scroll is the horse I'm looking at. And one of the reasons I was excited when you asked to do this is to talk about both regular betting via Keeneland Select, betting if you're at the track, and the Stable Duel app. And Hidden Scroll is a horse where you should probably spend a decent amount of your bankroll for your $50,000 on Stable Duel. He costs us $8,500, but he's ranked number 1 for value. He's one of the most logical winners on the card. Now we're going transitioning from Stable Duel to real betting because he looks legitimate. This is a horse that was phenomenally thought of early in his career. He won his debut by 14 lengths. They thought he could be a Derby horse. He bombed the next few races. Then they went and tried turf and just didn't work out. He wasn't happy. And he switched barns. No knock against his Hall of Fame trainer, sharing your last name, Bill Mott. But he just was not happy for whatever reason. They gave him to Brad Cox, who had a phenomenal 2020. And you can see in the Stable Duel app, he won his only race. That was August to January, so a layoff. A lot of the horses we'll be talking about today, especially the younger ones, you're looking for whether they can repeat or improve off their last races or run back to a previous one. Hidden Scroll did win off that big layoff, and he should run even better in his second start off the layoff. Very logical, as I said, should improve, could win by a big margin, and that's the reason I think he's worth the money for your Stable Duel and maybe worth the win bet too.
There we go. We're going to get the phone screen up there so you can see if you're looking in the Stable Duel app and you click on Hidden Scroll. This is the horse details page. So you can look and see that this horse has a value rank of 1 out of the entire field. So $8,500. I think you're going to get some bang for your buck here. And as Ella said, if you're going to spend money on the higher dollar horses, you want them to throw points on the board. So that means you want them to win and you want them to win by plus lengths as much as possible. So you're not looking for a 61 here, you're looking for a 65, 66 to bump you up against the others. So awesome. Well, As much as people, and you'll know this, when people trash talk me on Twitter and they don't know that I'm not related to Bill Mott for some reason, Hidden Scroll is usually in the tweet somewhere. So there's that.
That's
All right. Well, let's move on to Shakertown. This is a grade 2. I've looked through this one myself. There's actually a few free horses in here at, the higher price of 50-1 odds. So yeah, if you really, really need to go for an absolute free horse, I guess you can find some here, but there's still some good value in this race. Ellis, who are you looking at in this one?
Well, first you make a good point, because if you get down to 47, 48,000, you got to spend some money. Take a few of these. You just hope they don't get beat by too much. That's why when you pick a horse like Hidden Scroll, you want him to win by a lot to make up for a horse that might get a -5 or 6 points. I'm not sure why I picked this race. I did a webinar earlier, one of our webinars we do for Stats Racelands, and someone said that it was going on a limb just picking a 13-horse race. But I like these races from a betting perspective. Real money via Keeneland Select or any other ADW, but also for this, because you get a horse that can finish in the top 3. And there are some very consistent horses here. We're going to start with the 5 Turn Decide. And you can see when you pull up his screen that he's been first or second in 6 out of 10 races. That's the kind of consistency you want. You can see the risk is high, but that's because this is a 13-horse field. I think the rank is worth it. He's 6-1, so he's not that expensive at 5,000. But more importantly, when you look at his last few races on the Stable Duel app, you'll see that he's been first or second in 3 of his last 4 in 2020, and they were all on the turf and short like this. This is 5.5 furlongs on the grass. And then again, just like with the last horse, we're looking at form and improvement. And Hidden Scroll was off November to February. He finished 4th in a turf sprint. Should improve nicely. Second off that layoff. Think about that when you're looking at this for regular money. And for real money, certainly he's a bet to win or across the board at 6-1. Turn Decide would be a nice pick here.
Yeah, and something to note as well. So the last start, it got 4th place, but only beaten by 2.5 lengths. So at least it's not getting blown out in 4th place so that you're putting negative points on the board because a lot of lengths beaten by. So definitely something with the first, but also when he's gotten beaten, it hasn't been by a terrible amount of lengths either.
And another one here I want to look at is the 13 Bound for Nowhere. This is a 7-year-old that he doesn't run much. He's run 14 times, but he shows up every time. And not only does he love Keeneland, he loves the turf. So when we look at his screenshot, you'll see he has a high in the money chance, 10 for 14, first, second, or third. And it won't show here, but at Keeneland, he has 2 wins, a second and the third, and 5 races. And what's really interesting is he runs in this race every year, the Shakertown Stakes. It's right in his wheelhouse. He finished first by 4 lengths in 2018. He led until the very last jump and got beaten in the neck in 2019. And then when you look at his most recent race and you see that third by a neck, that was at the July meet, which would have been the postponed meet from the spring. And he ran third in that race, beaten just a neck. He's always there. You don't have to worry about losing a lot of points to him. If he doesn't win, you'll get points because he's usually within a length or a neck of the lead every time he shows up. He's a little more money, of course. He's 8,000, but a race you could pick between him or the other one, as I mentioned, Turn Decide. Bound for Nowhere is certainly a good choice, and also a horse you have to use if you play exacta bets for real money, which is trying to pick first and second, and any other bets you make.
Yeah, I tweeted this horse out earlier. I love this guy. I think it's awesome to see the Shakertown in July. Obviously just random weirdness from last year. This is a horse that I will be putting money on as well. But I'm excited to see him run. And Wesley Ward does well both on the European side and here, and I think that this is a horse that pretty much proves that on a consistent basis. So I know another horse that you talked about was the 2 horse. Is it Imprimis?
I say Imprimi. I've heard him pronounced both ways. I say Imprimi, but I could be wrong.
I'm always wrong, so I'll go with you. Imprimi. All right, $7,500 at 7-2. What do you like about this one?
Well, another one's consistent. So the screen will tell you right away that he's really good. He either wins or kind of doesn't show up at all. He's 9 for 18. But some of those races, for example, when you look at that third race back, and if you would notice, it was in November at Keeneland, which means Breeders' Cup. So he finished 13th against the best turf sprinters in the world. Other than that, you've got a second, a win, and a win in his last 4 of his last 5. He's also won a race at Keeneland. He ran a race at Keeneland back in 2019. Actually, he won this race. I'm sorry. He won this race and beat Bound for Nowhere by a neck in the 2019 edition of the Shakertown. So This is another horse. I probably wouldn't use all 3 in this race. 2 maybe, but it's using a lot of your bankroll. But another horse I couldn't argue with here, 7,500 for a horse that's probably going to be first, second, or third. And then we can transition to, again, real money betting. These guys are all worth taking a look at for your regular wagers via Keeneland Select. I would say, as I mentioned, because he's 6-1 on starting odds, we call the morning line, might go down a little bit. Turn to side is a good across the board bet. But if you wanted to play an exacta box, you play exacta box, which is when you play a 3-horse exacta box, it's any 2 of the 3, first and second, any order. It's $1 minimum. There's 6 combinations, so it's a $6 bet, 2, 5, 13. Or if you want to get a little more adventurous, which you can do in a 13-horse field, throw in a nice long shot number 4 Hollis, who's been first or second in 5 of 6 of his last 7 races. And that's a $12 bet. And again, you win if any 2 of the 4 finish first and second in any order. And you hope the higher odds horses come in. So a very inexpensive wager to have some fun, the exacta box.
Absolutely. And again, download the Keeneland Select app, put that promo code in when you create your account. And when you bet $10, Keeneland will match another $10. So this is a good way to have some fun. You're rooting for more than one horse in this race with the exacta box. And again, they can finish in any order, and that's what the box means. So take a look. All right, do we want to move on to the Ashland, the grade 1 Ashland? It's a mile and a 16th on the dirt. I actually think that this one is super exciting. I remember past the Champagne, Castellanos on it. I remember winning with Johnny V and another woman coming in second because I had some weird tweet about that. People are talking about Simply Ravishing. We kind of talked about this right before we came on, and I know I'm putting you on the spot for this race a little bit more. I don't love Simply Ravishing only because that is a very long layoff, and I don't mind fillies off long layoffs, but it's usually for a shorter race that I can get behind them. But for a mile and a 16th, I might go against the $8,500 in the app. Where are you feeling on that one?
I tend to agree, and back to just how I handicap these races, the Bluegrass, the Wood, San Anita, at this time of year in April, and this is one of the last races that earns points for the Kentucky Oaks. You want horses that have run the last couple months. It's very difficult to come off the bench this time of year, go either from a maiden to a stake or coming off the bench. And that's a lot. Kenny McPeak's a fantastic trainer. And this is a really good horse. She won the Alcibiades, which is the big 2-year-old race before the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies in the fall. But when you're talking about, November to April, so 4 months and a couple of days off versus horses that ran from the middle of February on further, it's hard to do. Now, I will say, on the other hand, we're going to talk about Malathot, who is coming back from a December race, but she's undefeated, and it's Todd Pletcher, and Pletcher's just a higher percentage trainer coming off a layoff. The horse that's run more recently is Will Secret, who won the Honeybee Stakes at Oaklawn last month, 4 weeks ago exactly, and she's the horse that's been first in her last 3 races. So if you wanted to take a pick in this race for your stable, you should use Will Secret, in my opinion.
I don't disagree. It won the last 3 races. Same jock. I like to see same jocks. I mean, it's like a nostalgic moment, if you will. Same jock aboard. Dallas Stewart's coming in. You look at the trainer stats, like 28% won last start. I mean, he just comes in with some high numbers, and at $7,500 going up against the what ifs, I think that Will Secret is pretty good value to put in your stable. All right, well, let's go to the big one. Obviously, the Bluegrass Stakes, one of the big Derby preps, a mile and an 1/8 on the dirt. This is a 9-horse field, exciting stuff, Essential Quality. I know that is a well-known name, and I know that you've got an opinion on this one for the Stable Duel app. So morning line odds, 3 to 5, pretty darn expensive to buy. What are your thoughts?
Well, look, if someone thinks a Stable Duel is a complete absolute lock, you should probably go ahead and spend the $12,000, but that's 24% of your salary. So I don't know. Now, I'm going to talk about both. From a betting perspective, He's a horrible win bet. He's a horse you have to use if you play the exactas. We talked about the trifecta, which is first, second, and third. If you play what we call multiple race bets, like the double, which is trying to pick 2 winners in a row, or the pick 3, which is 3 winners in a row. You got to separate those two. I mean, he's undefeated. He came back, as you could see, from a layoff. He won in November, which was the Breeders' Cup Juvenile at Keeneland. He'd also won the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland. I'm saying that again so everybody knows that familiarity with the track. And then he won the Southwest Stakes at Oaklawn Park. So he's fast. He's not that much faster than a couple others in the race in terms of speed figures, that any of the major speed figures out there, but he's good. You could certainly do it. I think there's more value in terms of stable duel and also in betting in other kinds of bets with the 3 highly motivated. And if you look at his screen, you'll see he's got the last 3 races. He was second, first, and first in, last 3 races of last year, 2020. He was second, first, and first. And then he was off November to March, which is good. You want to see these 3-year-olds take a break from the winter, come back, and he ran third. Now, I'm going to go out on a separate tactic here for a minute, Bree, and say, I said this on my other webinar, and also this is our Equibase and America's Best Racing. This is my blog for Keeneland Select, actually, that I think trainer Chad Brown was pointing to the Bluegrass way back in November when he entered highly motivated in that Nyquist Sprint Stakes, which is that race at Keeneland, November 6th. I think he was thinking, let's see how he does. We'll come back in April if he does well. I think the last race, which was called the Gotham Stakes on March 6th, was just a prep, and this will leap him forward past his best effort, which, by the way, was a 104 Equibase speed figure. It's a measure of time that you compare horses, and it was a 104. Now, Essential Quality earned a 105 figure in his comeback. If highly motivated comes back off a figure which is 102, he'll pass the 104. You think of horses as athletes in their 3-year-old season. They're bigger and stronger physically and mentally, hopefully. So his second start's going to be better than his first, and he could run fast or faster than Essential Quality, even if Essential Quality improves, as we might expect he will second off his layoff. He's bred for the distance. His sire, by the way, Into Mischief, a separate note, was the sire of last year's Derby winner, Authentic. No question of getting this 1 1/8 for the first time, even though the Gotham Stakes was a mile around 1 turn. And so highly motivated, I think, is a really good value at 8,000, as we said, because he also had the speed rank of 2. Moving on, if you want to look for a horse that's a great value, look to number 2, Untreated. Because he's 8-1, he's only $1,000. Save $1,000 for this horse in your duel. And also, I'll say it at the end as well. Highly Motivated is a great win bet, about 2-1 odds or higher, but Untreated is a win bet at 3-1 or higher, maybe for a lesser amount. You want to kind of average your bets out to make the same amount. So just for folks that don't know, 2-1, let's just say you bet $10 gets you a Highly Motivated at 7-2. $10 gets you 45, 3.5-1, and $5 on Untreated 8-1 gets you 45. So you balance your budget to get the same amount. You can certainly bet more on the higher odds horse, but this way you don't have to spend as much and you get the same return betting 2 horses. And you can do that in a race like this. Anyway, for Untreated, you can see that his last win was by 8 3/4 lengths. And that was his first race at a distance. It was a 1/16. The one before that was a sprint. He won really easy, and in the middle of the race, he rallied from like 7th to make the lead, just like a push button. Horses don't have gears, but he had a gear. He trained by Todd Pletcher. Todd Pletcher saddled the winner of the Florida Derby last week, Known Agenda, who was also making his 3rd start of the year. So Pletcher knows what to do with these horses. He also saddled the runner-up in the Jeff Ruby Stakes on a horse named Sainthood last weekend. So Untreated is a great horse to bet across the board and to use in your stable duel for $1,000. And we'll get to some of the exotic wagers in a minute.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the sleeper Untreated, if you will. I mean, the 8 3/4 length is super strong. Granted, it was at Tampa. I know people have opinions about Tampa, but I think that horse coming from 7th shows that it's able to fight and then win by 8 3/4. I mean, the horse has got talent for absolute sure. So I think at $1,000, if you are running out of money and you don't want to buy one of the expensive horses in this last race, and $1,000 on Untreated, the number 2, is not a bad move. Absolutely. All right. So you said you've got some exotics up your sleeve. What do we got, Ellis?
Okay, well, besides the win bets, which I always make win bets first, highly motivated, as I said, about 2-1, and then treat it for lesser amount at about 3-1 or more, and you're definitely going to get the price. This is where you play a trifecta because you got a good field that's not expensive. So a trifecta, basically you win based on who comes in first, second, and third, and you take some multiple combinations. Sometimes you can box it, but in this case, this is called a part wheel. You don't have to say it. You can say it at Keeneland Select. This is trifecta. It's called a key or at the windows. And this is a bet in which basically the slashes separate first from second, second from third. So you're taking number 2 untreated, number 3 highly motivated, and number 4 essential quality coming first and second. And then you're adding 3 other horses. The one is a horse named Hidden Stash, who comes from way back and might get into there. A horse named Rombauer, who's number 5, and Hush of a Storm, number 7. And these are horses at 20-1, 15-1, and 15-1. You can also throw a few bucks on if you want to, again, cap out your salary at Stable Duel. They're usable. This ticket is a 50-cent minimum. Believe it or not, even with all those numbers, it's 24 combinations times 50 cents. It's a $12 bet. If essential quality wins and highly motivated runs second, you might get your 12 bucks back. I'll be honest. But if you get untreated in second, or if untreated wins and one of the other long shots comes in, it could be a $40 or $50 bet. And that's not bad in a race like this with a heavy, heavy favorite to get 3 or 4 times your money. So that's my kind of exotic play in the Toyota Bluegrass.
Absolutely. And I think, again, if you are new to betting, this is a good one to key because you've got a fighting and a rooting chance for not only first, second, and third. And a win is a win. If this is one of your first tickets, a win is a win. So you just want any of these horses to come in those orders. And the reason that you're keying multiple horses in each one is you're just kind of like hedging your bets. If anyone does a sports betting analogy, you're making sure that you've got options in first. You might have some of the same options for your second and some of the added options in third. But that's where the slashes were and what Ellis was talking about. So that's all I've got. Are you going to be playing Stable Duel this weekend, showing people what Keeneland's all about?
I'm going to be playing. I hope I don't get beat by 0.05 like I did the last time I played a few weeks ago. But I'm not gonna miss an opportunity, especially with Keeneland. I've got to do the rest of the card, but it's going to be really exciting and just so much going on. I hope everybody really enjoys this, and certainly just a real shout out for America's Best Racing. Join us from 5:30 to 7:30. It's the second screen we're doing, along with the NBC Sports coverage as well. And definitely open a Keeneland Select account. It's great. That's where I'll be betting this weekend. And, have a great weekend enjoying these preps.
Is the ABR today at 5:30 to 7:30?
It's going to be Saturday. It's going to be today. It's going to be on Derby Day. Yeah, we're going to cover all 3 of these great prep races Saturday, 5:30 to 7:30.
Awesome. Yeah, lots of things to do. Get in the Keeneland app, get in the Keeneland Select app, get in the Stable Duel app. And we will have a free Stable Duel Keeneland game, I think maybe next week. So if you are a little nervous, you can wait, but you can get in a Stable Duel game at Keeneland for $10 on Saturday. $10. That's like less than 2 Starbucks. So get in the game, play against your friends and family, and have an awesome time. Ellis, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. We're going to do it every week, right?
I will do it as much as I can, believe me. And if people got questions, they can hit me up on Twitter at UberCapper. And I just started a YouTube channel. People can look me up as well. So
nice. All right. Well, hit us up on social media. Thanks, guys, and good luck this weekend at Keeneland.